YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more NFL draft grades. We're going division by division. This one's for the NFC North. So we're going to get through all the teams, and then once we're through each division, we're going to put all the teams together and rank them worst to first. So we'll find out, in my opinion, who had the best draft of 2019. Something that's very important for this is I value the entire draft equally. So, first round, seventh round, I'm looking for value at the picks, and I discuss each team's worst pick, in my opinion. That doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad pick, so something to keep in mind. Right before we get started, 20K is our subscriber goal. We're getting there. Really appreciate it if you help us out by clicking that subscribe button, click that like button. And there's our Twitter in the bottom right, also link in the description. Appreciate a follow. Let's start with the Chicago Bears. Not a whole bunch of picks because the Khalil Mack trade last year. Best pick to me was Riley Ridley. Really liked that pick. Was surprised that I was surprised a lot of receivers were there, really. The Bears didn't really need a receiver. Honestly, they have a really good group there, but too good to pass. So I respect them for, staying true to their board there, making sure they get the best guy there. And what I like about Ridley, he didn't have a bunch of production, but I like about Ridley is, press doesn't really phase him. He can block. He can catch the ball contested on the sideline. So he'll definitely make his way into that group of receivers. I think him with Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, Taylor Gabriel too, that's a pretty darn good group. So I like the Riley Ridley pick. In terms of my worst pick, Duke Shelley from Kansas State. I did not have a grade on him. They took him in the 6th. It sounds like he'll battle for that slot spot, 5'9" corner. So take him in the 6th. I had him undrafted, not a huge deal there, but more comfortable was in the 7th round. And the sleeper pick is going to be the running back, the second running back they took in Kareth White, running back from Florida Atlantic. He was a second string at Florida Atlantic because Singletary was getting all the action, but when Kareth White was in there, he was very impressive. It looked like he needed more touches, so a good amount of touchdowns too for the lack of, opportunity, which he should have got. So that's a sleeper pick. He can actually, they're going to have the open competition with the running backs, a couple they got too. So who knows who's going to be getting, most of the carries. Could be all split evenly, so going to be interesting. Going over their entire draft, they took David Montgomery in the 3rd round. They needed their other running back, their starting running back, going forward. And they got Montgomery. That's about right, where he should have went to me. Very impressive in terms of, at the college level and breaking tackles. He's got some moves. You wish there was a little more burst off the line. But that's about where he should have went for me. We talked about Riley Ridley. That was a very good pick. Duke Shelley was a little early for me. Kareth White, it's about where he should go. He's a sleeper pick. In their last 7th rounder, they took Steven Denmark, cornerback from Valdosta. Valdosta State. Did not have a grade on him, but it's an upside guy. He's a big corner, and they'll see what they can do with him. So, really nothing to make you like wow about the pick, jump out of your seat besides Riley Ridley. Some picks are about where some of these guys should have went. They're a pretty complete team. Maybe one of the most complete teams. But what I didn't really like, I respect staying true to their board if that's what they did. I didn't like out of 5 picks, they go with 3 positions, really. They went with 2 running backs, 2 corners, and I think that both corners are kind of a project. They're not really ready yet. And then they grab a receiver, which I love staying true to your board, but I think they really needed an edge rusher. They don't really have much depth at all, and it kind of, even though their defense was dominant last year, it kind of stood out at times. So I know don't reach for a guy. I was kind of waiting for him to get DeAndre Walker at times. So I wish they would have grabbed one of those, but I gave him a B-. They got some good players. They needed a running back. They're a pretty complete team. Riley Ridley's going to help this team. It was a good pick. But yeah, it's nothing crazy about this draft, I guess, because of the lack of picks. So I'm not gonna hurt them for that. I just wish they would, grab maybe another position here. I think there was some other guys at other positions they could have used that were best available at the time. So gave them a B-, still a solid grade there. Moving on to the Lions, their best pick for me was Amani Aruarie, the corner from Penn State. Pretty much a steal there. I thought he can go early 3rd. Worst pick in the 2nd round was Jaylani Tavai. He can be a good football player. He's a linebacker, traditional stand-up linebacker. That actually, can bring pressure to the quarterback. He's pretty impressive. So they'll use him in different ways. I just think they took him pretty early. It was starting to get some buzz that he was actually moving up teams' boards and possibly going to go 4th, maybe as early as 3rd. But then he had an off-the-field issue at one point. He had a pretty bad injury at one point, so I didn't think he would go in the 2nd. They grabbed him in the 2nd. The sleeper pick is Austin Bryant. He's just a sleeper because the whole Clemson defensive line went in the first round, and he was a solid player too, kind of overshadowed by those other guys, and he can definitely make an impact early on in his career. They get him in the 4th round, so not tremendous value there, but as a sleeper player, can be pretty solid. Looking at the rest of the draft, T.J. Hawkinson, about where we thought he would go. We talked about Tyve. We did not talk about Will Harris. Will Harris, the safety from Boston College. I had a 3rd round grade on him. That's where they took him. He has the potential to play strong safety early. Austin Bryant, we talked about that. Solid pick. Aruarie was a very good pick in the 5th round. 2 rounds of value there. I had him in the 3rd round. Travis Fulgham, wide receiver, Old Dominion. He has upside. He played a weaker competition, looked pretty good. There was some really good receivers left I thought they would go with there. So I don't want to call it a reach because that's about where you should go. But maybe a little surprised, but not a bad pick. Ty Johnson on the 6th was a little surprising. I thought he would go undrafted. He's really got speed, not much else. Didn't have a whole bunch of production attempts really. So I was a little surprised by that pick. I don't know. To me, the Lions didn't need another depth running back. Like, they didn't really need a running back. If one's too good to pass, I understand that. But Ty Johnson, I don't think is that guy. It seems like they have a list of running backs on their team. Isaac Nauta in the 7th, thought he would go 6 or 7, so that's a solid pick. Another tight end, though. Then P.J. Johnson, I had undrafted, but they took him with their last pick. So there's some picks that I really, really like. Some picks, like the 2nd round towards the end that I didn't really like, but I ended up giving them a B+ because I really feel like they filled needs, did a good job. I like the Will Harris pick, Austin Bryant pick. I think he'd make an impact. Amani Aruarie, I think that they needed a corner like that. I think he fits, and they get him. That's an absolute steal. So it's kind of here and there, but I think they really got better. They filled some needs here, so I gave the Lions a B+. Moving on to the next team, we got the Green Bay Packers. Best pick to me was Dexter Williams. He was my number 5 running back, and they get him down in the 6th rounds, later 6th rounds. So he's good. I like Dexter Williams a lot. I think he'll win. He could win that second number 2 running back job, and with Jamal Williams, I like Jamal Williams, but I think Dexter Williams brings more to the table there. And Aaron Jones, maybe he can't stay healthy, so that's good. They'll have Dexter Williams there. I like that pick. Worst pick to me was Darnell Savage. I think he's a heck of an athlete. I think he's a good football player. I had a 2nd round grade on him. They take him in the 1st, but not only that, they trade up pretty good amount of spots too. So I was very surprised by that. Not a bad player at all, but worst pick for how they handled it there. Sleeper's Ty Summers. They took him with their last pick actually in the 7th round, and I thought he could go 5th round, and they needed some competition at that middle linebacker spot. Him and Oren Burks. I think Burks will win it, but he can get on the field early. Ty Summers, a tackling machine, so that was a solid pick there. And then looking at the rest of the draft, Rashawn Gary. I like Rashawn Gary in that range. It's just, I guess it's a wait and see because I don't know if he can fit. I did not view him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. I just did not at all. I think he's a 4-3 end, even maybe a 3-4 end. So, but they're saying he'll play outside linebacker. So, going to be interesting. I know he has the athleticism. That athleticism at the combine, it doesn't really show up on the film. He's definitely athletic for his size on the film. So, I don't know if they're kind of distracted by that. The combine numbers, I think he'll play outside linebacker. I don't really like the fit, honestly. I think he's a good player, but we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Darnell Savage talked about that. So I wasn't a huge fan of their day 1, honestly. They got 2 good players, but in terms of fit and then trading up, I wasn't a fan. But then day 2, I liked it. Elgin Jenkins, they need another guard, slash center. I think he'll play guard. The guard out of Mississippi State. They get him in the 2nd round, about where he should have went. Jay Sternberg in the 3rd round. That's about where he should go. We thought he can go late too, so that's a solid pick there. He's definitely a weapon. Kingsley Keke in the 5th. To me, not in terms of talent, but in terms of play style, I don't think Keke and Gary are too far off. And Keke's going to play 3-4 end where he belongs, where he fits. So kind of shows the Gary thing with the fit situation is a little scary. But Keke, I like that in the 5th. Kadar Holloman in the 6th. I had an undrafted grade on him. They take him in the 6th. Dexter Williams, I really like that pick, and I like the Ty Summers pick as well. So I'm kind of back and forth on a lot of this here. I gave him a B because of it. The 1st round I wasn't a huge fan of, and then they had some, somewhat steals here and there. I mean, they got better because of all the picks, but it's kind of back and forth for me. It's right in the middle, and that's why I put him at a B. On to the last team in the division, the Minnesota Vikings, who had the most picks in the draft, actually, which is, pretty good for them. because they needed some stars in the offensive line, and they needed a lot of depth elsewhere pretty much. So for the best pick, could have went with their first pick. I went with Drew Samaya from Oklahoma. I had an early third-round grade. I thought he would go early third. They get him in the mid-fourth. And then why is he the best pick, though? A little bit of a steal. Not crazy, but I think he actually can start. I think this could be a starting guard for the Minnesota Vikings. He's going to battle with Klein and Elflein for that guard spot there. So that should be interesting. I like that pick for them. Their worst pick to me was Marcus Epps. They took him in the 6th. I had him undrafted. It's kind of a freak athlete. And I guess, Zimmer maybe can turn him into something. He already has the athletic traits, so understandable. But I had undrafted for the 6th-round guy. And sleeper to me is Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell, I had a 5th-round grade. They get him in the 7th, 25th pick in the 7th. Kind of built like Stephon Diggs. He kind of can move like him. Diggs obviously does do much more. Dylan Mitchell more of a downfield tracker guy, which they could have used. And they needed a third receiver, and I actually think Dylan Mitchell can be their third receiver. That's just kind of their type of guy that succeeds. And I think they refused to draft receivers early now, and they knew the depth of this receiver class would push the guys down, and they'll be able to get some solid ones in the 7th. So I like what they did there. Looking at the rest of the draft, Garrett Bradbury in the 1st, that's about where he should went, and it's definitely a need. He'll start at center. Irv Smith in the 2nd. A little surprised by this one because I just didn't think there was a bunch of teams I thought could end up with him. I just didn't think it would be the Vikings. They didn't think he was going to be there, so that's a good pick there. Definitely makes the offense better. 3rd round, Alexander Madison was one of my sleeper running backs, and I think, in terms of replacing Latavius Murray, I don't know if you could have found a better one. This is about, it's not good value or anything here, about where he should have went, maybe a few picks early even, but I think it's a perfect replacement for Latavius Murray. It makes a lot of sense there. Drew Samaya, I really like that pick there. Round 5, Cameron Smith, about where he should go. They need a depth linebacker. Armon Watson, the 6th, same thing. It's about where he should go. They need a depth defensive tackle. They take Marcus Epps. I think that was a little bit of a reach to safety from Wyoming, but he has athletic traits. Oli Udoh, I like that pick in the 6th round where he should have went, but they need another tackle, and they get one with a lot of upside there. Chris Boyd was another really good steal there in the 7th. I thought he would go 5th. Some people even liked him in the 4th. It's a Vikings-type corner. It's a Zimmer-type corner, so I really like that pick, especially with his old teammate Holton Hill suspended early. That makes sense. I like the 2 7th-round receivers. We talked about Dylan Mitchell. They get Olabisi Johnson, wide receiver from Colorado State. I think a safe receiver down here can run routes, can get open. So at least one of these guys will definitely stick and be on the field during the year. And the long snapper in the 7th round. Didn't have a grade on the long snapper, but that was their last pick in the 7th round. So a big haul, and they actually resisted the defense for the most part. They did get some defensive guys in the stretch, but and they built this offense. We haven't seen them do this in a long time. I think Kubiak and actually bringing an offensive line coach, which they didn't do last year, I think helped this happen. So this team got better. A team 2 years ago that we thought was a contender, and last year we realized they had some holes there, mainly on the offensive line. This team definitely got better. I gave them an A. Very good haul. Not a bunch of picks that are going to make you jump out of your seat and say, wow, what a steal. But they got guys that, that's about the range they should go. And they got much better, I think, in terms of offense. It's good to see the Vikings actually go offense and focus on it here. Pretty impressive. So there's your NFC North grades. We're going through all the divisions, and then we're going to rank all the teams in one video and find out who, in my opinion, had the best draft out of anybody, and that will happen once we get through all the divisions. So, and then after that, we'll start going into predictions for the upcoming season. We're going to do record predictions, player rankings for what I think will happen. Maybe we'll do some rookie rank, who will win Rookie of the Year. We'll probably get to that too. And then we'll do some NBA draft. I love, any kind of draft I really love. NFL draft's my favorite. NBA's right there, though. So I'll cover that. Can't wait for that. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for their support. It's been great. Stay tuned for the rest of the divisions. Goodbye.